What happens when a prince known for criticizing the media sits down with one of America's most respected journalists, only to find himself on the receiving end of the tough questions he's spent years avoiding? This is the story of how Prince Harry's appearance on Good Morning America went from a standard promotional stop to a career-defining moment that left viewers stunned and network producers scrambling. The Duke of Sussex believed he was entering friendly territory. Instead, what unfolded was a masterclass in journalism, one that exposed contradictions, challenged carefully curated narratives, and ended in one of the most dramatic exits in live TV history. Before we dive into the explosive details, hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments, do celebrity interviews owe guests comfort or accountability? The day began like any other inside the Good Morning America studios in Times Square. Robin Roberts, a seasoned anchor with decades of experience, had interviewed presidents, movie stars, and royalty alike. Her signature blend of warmth and professionalism had made her one of the most trusted faces in American news. But today's guest, Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, was different. Here was a man who had stepped back from royal duties, moved to California, and spent the better part of 3 years publicly criticizing the very institution he was born into. He had condemned the British media, revealed deeply personal family grievances, and positioned himself as a champion of privacy, while remaining a staple of the global spotlight. As the theme music faded and cameras rolled, Robin welcomed viewers with her usual poise. Good morning, America. I'm Robin Roberts, and today we have a very special guest, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. He's here to talk about his charitable work and life beyond the palace. Harry, dressed in a tailored navy blazer, smiled politely. Thank you for having me, Robin. Please, just Harry is fine. All right, Harry, she replied with a warm grin. Let's begin with something close to your heart, your work with veterans through the Invictus Games. Harry visibly relaxed as he spoke about his foundation. The Invictus Games represents everything I believe in. These men and women have sacrificed so much. Many are healing from invisible wounds like PTSD. Supporting them isn't just a duty, it's a privilege. Robin nodded thoughtfully, then pivoted. It's meaningful work, no doubt. But Harry, I have to ask, a question I know many Americans are wondering. How do you reconcile your calls for privacy with your very public presence? You've written a best-selling memoir, appeared in documentaries, sat for high-profile interviews, and now you're here with us. The air shifted. Harry's smile faded slightly. Robin, I think people misunderstand what we've asked for. We've never demanded total privacy. We've asked for control. Control over our narrative, and the ability to protect our family from harmful, invasive coverage that serves no public interest. But Robin didn't let up. Yet when you publicly share private family conversations, when you speak about your father and brother in such intimate detail, aren't you inviting the very scrutiny you say you want to avoid? Can you selectively demand privacy while choosing what to disclose? Harry's jaw tightened. Those were my experiences, Robin. I lived them. I have the right to speak about them. Robin remained composed. Of course. But you've made serious allegations, accusations of racism, of institutional neglect. You've described private conversations with people who can't respond. That's not just your truth, Harry. That affects their truth, too. Don't they deserve the same consideration? Tension rippled through the studio. Harry leaned forward slightly. Robin, I was in those rooms. I heard those words. No one else can speak to my experience but me. Robin's tone remained even, but pointed. And I'm not questioning your experience. But you've said things that carry serious weight. About your father, your stepmother, about an institution with centuries of history. Shouldn't there be accountability for claims that shape public perception? Harry's expression hardened. Accountability. Where was the accountability when my wife was being torn apart in the press? When racist coverage went unchecked? When my mother was chased to her death by your industry? Robin responded without missing a beat. Harry, your mother's death was a tragedy. And you're right, there was outrage. The media world has changed since then. But using that tragedy to avoid scrutiny now, that's not accountability either. His frustration showed. I've been more transparent than anyone in my family. I've shared my grief, my struggles, my mistakes. That's not hiding. That's not shielding myself. Robin leaned in slightly. Transparency and accountability aren't the same thing. You've built a brand on being wronged. By the monarchy, by the press. But when someone challenges your own inconsistencies, you call it unfair. You can't have it both ways. At this point, the conversation had moved far from charity and veterans. Harry tried to steer things back. Robin, I came here to talk about the work we're doing to help others, not to rehash old controversies. Robin smiled. A knowing, seasoned journalist smile. But that's the point, Harry. You can't separate your advocacy from your public image. When you ask people to support your mission, your credibility is part of the ask, and credibility depends on honesty, consistency, and yes, accountability. The segment ended not with the planned applause, but with lingering silence. And across the internet, clips of the interview exploded, shared by those who praised Robin's incisive questioning, and by others who felt Harry had once again been misunderstood. What's undeniable? This wasn't just another celebrity interview. This was a reckoning. When people see you demanding privacy while actively seeking publicity, Robin said, her voice measured, it raises legitimate questions about your credibility. Harry's face flushed. For the first time since the interview began, his carefully constructed composure faltered. Credibility, he repeated, voice taut with disbelief. Robin, are you seriously questioning my credibility while sitting in the very studio of an industry that's made billions off my family's suffering? The same industry that hounded my mother to her death. Robin remained poised. Harry, I think you're deflecting. This isn't about the entire media machine. It's about your words, your choices, and the contradictions in your public narrative. She leaned in slightly. And frankly, bringing up your mother every time you're challenged is becoming a pattern. A lot of people have noticed. The words hit like a slap. Harry's eyes widened, shocked. Are you accusing me of exploiting my mother's death? He asked, voice trembling with restrained fury. I'm saying you use it as a shield. Robin replied without flinching. Whenever your motives or inconsistencies are questioned, you invoke Diana. And yes, her death was a tragedy. But it doesn't make you immune to criticism forever. The Harry stood abruptly, his hands visibly shaking. This is exactly why we left, he snapped. This kind of baiting, this twisting of words. You set me up, then act shocked when I respond. Robin didn't move. Please sit down, Harry, she said firmly. I'm not attacking you. I'm holding you accountable for things you said. That's not ambush journalism. It's basic integrity. Don't tell me to sit down. Harry shot back, voice rising. This was supposed to be about my work, not some cross-examination crafted to make me look unhinged. Robin's expression cooled. Every question I've asked has come directly from your own interviews and statements. If your truth starts to fall apart under scrutiny, that's not on me. That's something you need to confront. Confront what exactly? Harry demanded, pacing behind his chair. That I had the courage to walk away from a toxic system. That I defended my wife against racism and smear campaigns. That I chose my family over a cold institution that left us to drown. Robin leaned forward slightly. Confront the fact that you've made serious accusations without providing evidence. That you've painted private conversations in ways no one else can verify. Because the people involved chose not to retaliate publicly. And that while claiming victimhood, you've used your royal title to launch a media empire. Harry stopped pacing. He turned to face her, voice low and cold. You don't know what we went through, Robin. You weren't there. You didn't live it. You sit in this polished studio passing judgment on things you'll never understand. The Robin didn't blink. You're right, she said calmly. I wasn't there. Neither were the millions of people you're asking to believe your version of events. Robin said evenly. That's exactly why evidence matters, Harry. That's why consistency matters. When you speak of racist remarks but won't name anyone. When you describe your family as cold and unfeeling, yet they remain publicly silent. When you demand privacy but appear in high-profile interviews, people have questions. Harry's fists clenched at his sides. So now you're calling me a liar. I'm not calling you anything, Robin replied. I'm pointing out inconsistencies, contradictions that reasonable people are noticing. If that feels like an accusation, maybe you need to ask yourself why. Harry let out a bitter laugh. Unbelievable. This is exactly why we left. This kind of toxic ambush journalism. This is what destroys trust in your profession. Robin's voice remained steady, but steel had entered it. Challenging questions aren't toxic. Holding public figures accountable isn't a gotcha. What is toxic is making serious claims, profiting from your story, and then crying victim when asked to explain or defend your position. The Harry's voice cracked with emotion. Profit. You think this is about money? You think I wanted this? I didn't ask for racist attacks on my wife. I didn't ask to choose between my family and the institution I was born into. Robin stood now, calm but firm. Harry, you've crafted a narrative where you're always the victim. But you've also made choices. Writing a memoir, filming documentaries, doing interviews. Those aren't survival tactics. They're media strategies, career moves. And with that comes scrutiny. Career moves? Harry snapped, voice rising. We were cut off. Our security was stripped away. We had to provide for our family. Were you? Robin asked, her tone sharpening. Because multiple reports say your father continued supporting you financially. That you inherited significant wealth. That some of your claims have been disputed by palace sources. Harry's face turned pale with anger. Palace sources. You believe them over me? Over someone who actually lived through this. I consider all available information, Robin said coolly. That's what responsible journalism is. Not blind belief in anyone. Even someone with a compelling story. Hard questions. Harry muttered sarcastically. Is that what this is? A hit job? Designed to undermine everything I've built. Robin's patience thinned visibly. If your arguments collapse under follow-up questions. Harry, that's not an ambush. That's a reflection of their strength, or lack thereof. Silence fell, broken only by the hum of equipment. Harry stared at her, breathing heavily. Then, with a cold, deliberate tone, he said, You know what, Robin? We're done here. Robin remained seated, face unreadable. We still have 15 minutes left. Not anymore. Harry replied, ripping off his microphone. I'm not going to sit here and be attacked by someone who's already decided what I am. No one is attacking you, Robin said, her voice firm. But if you walk out now, just because the questions are uncomfortable, what message does that send about your willingness to be accountable? Harry paused, jaw tight. It sends the message that I won't be disrespected, that I won't be bullied by journalists who think destroying people is entertainment. Robin stood too, concern flashing in her eyes. I haven't bullied you. I've asked you questions about your own words and actions. If you can't handle scrutiny, maybe you need to reconsider stepping into the public arena. That struck a nerve. Reconsider the public eye. Harry snapped. I didn't choose this. I was born into it. I didn't ask for the spotlight. It was forced on me from birth. The Robin didn't flinch. And yet you chose to write a memoir. You chose to film a Netflix series. You've given interview after interview. Those were adult decisions, Harry. You can't claim you were dragged into the spotlight and then chase it when it suits your message. Harry's voice neared a shriek. I'm not chasing anything. I'm trying to reclaim the narrative. After years of being lied about. I'm trying to protect my family from people like you. Robin's calm cracked for the first time. People like me. What does that mean? Exactly? Harry yanked the microphone from his lapel, letting it crash to the floor. Let's talk about character then. Yours. A journalist who invites someone on under false pretenses, then spends 20 minutes tearing them apart. Robin's voice rose, matching his. False pretenses. Are you serious? Robin's voice was calm but unflinching. Ari, you knew you were coming on a news program. You knew you'd be asked about current events and your own public statements. What exactly did you think this was going to be? A puff piece about your favorite charity? Harry's eyes narrowed, voice dripping with sarcasm. I thought this would be a professional interview, with a respected journalist. I thought I'd be treated with basic human decency, not ambushed in some staged character assassination to make you look tough. Robin stood, composure cracking. Character assassination. If quoting your own words back to you feels like an attack, maybe you should take a closer look at what those words actually say. The Harry began pacing, agitated. They say I had the courage to defend my wife when no one else would. That I walked away from a system that was destroying us. That I chose love and family over duty and silence. Robin cut in, sharp and clear. They also say you threw your own family under the bus for attention. That you make serious accusations without evidence. That you monetize your pain while demanding privacy. That's the other side of your words. Harry stopped cold, face flushed, fists clenched. How dare you? You don't know what I've been through. You don't know the position I was in. Robin's voice turned icy. I know what you've chosen to tell the world. Over and over. On every platform. For profit. Harry's voice cracked, trembling with fury. For profit. You think I've enjoyed being torn apart by people like you? You think I wanted any of this? Robin stared him down. I think you've enjoyed having the stage. Being able to control the narrative. Unchallenged. Uncorrected. I think you've enjoyed being the victim when it pays. And I think you've cashed every check that came with it. Silence. Just the sound of Harry's heavy breathing. When he finally spoke, his voice was low but venomous. You're everything that's wrong with journalism. The kind of person who would have hounded my mother to her death and then called it just doing your job. Robin's face went pale, then hard. Don't you dare. Don't you dare invoke your mother to dodge accountability. That's beneath contempt, even for you, Harry snapped. Beneath contempt. You sit there smugly trying to tear me down, pretending it's about integrity. You're a bully with a camera crew. Robin's voice rose. Harry, you've spent this entire interview deflecting, attacking, and playing the victim. You accuse, you generalize, and you run the moment someone pushes back. And now you're comparing me to the paparazzi, the people you say killed your mother. Harry shouted. The good faith was in me showing up, trying to have an adult conversation about real issues. You wanted drama. Robin laughed bitterly. Adult conversation. You've dodged every substantive question. Every challenge is an attack. Every fact is an insult. That's not dialogue. That's a performance. The Harry shrugged on his jacket with angry, jerking motions. This is why no one trusts the media. Because of people like you, who think they have the right to destroy anyone who doesn't fit their narrative. Robin's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. There is no media narrative here, Harry. Just the one you created. And the only person destroying your credibility is you. Harry glared at her, voice trembling. My credibility comes from telling the truth about my life, not from earning the approval of journalists who never believed me to begin with. Robin shook her head slowly. Truth isn't a personal brand. Facts aren't feelings. Credibility isn't something you claim. It's something you earn. With honesty. With consistency. With accountability. All things you've shown no ability to handle. Harry's face darkened. This interview is over. He turned and stormed off toward the exit. Robin called after him, voice calm, professional once more. "You're not escaping a toxic environment, Harry. You're bringing one with you." The studio doors slammed shut. Robin turned to face the camera. Her poise returned like a steel mask. "We'll be right back after this break." As the studio went dark and the silence settled, it was clear this interview wouldn't be remembered for what Prince Harry hoped to promote, but for what it revealed about his character, his mindset, and his resistance to being held accountable. The man who spent years portraying himself as a victim of media abuse had just offered the strongest evidence yet that maybe, just maybe, the issue wasn't with the media at all.